Yeah, hi peeps, it's Tess back in the house once again, and I'm making this video as a bit of a reply. I don't know if he's ever going to see it, to Pat Condell's most recent video, A Word to Left-Wing Students. I don't know how Pat Condell grew up, but as I remember my younger years, my teenage years, I'm 52 now, so it would have been back in the early 70s, 74, 75, 76 when I was a teenager, 77, 78, when I was leaving school. Yeah, I was personally of the mind that I was expected to basically, because I was young and had no experience in life, to shut the fuck up and have no opinion on anything. Your elders and betters have all the best opinions and you should shut the fuck up. You shouldn't complain, you shouldn't speak out, and you shouldn't voice your opinion. Well, luckily back then, at the rise of the National Front in England, and they even made excursions into Scotland. Rock Against Racism, small organisation you might have heard of or might not, Google it, they got some people together, mostly teenagers, and we would go and we would surround the meeting places of these fascists, and we would, shout them down. We would stand outside the meeting hall where they were having these supposedly, free speech meetings where they could talk about their fascist agenda and how they were going to fascise fucking Britain and kick the niggers out and all that, and we would all stand outside in the street and chant and shout and hopefully interrupt their meeting inside the building, which we couldn't attend because we weren't allowed in because they knew we were against fascism. Often because of the amount of people with banners outside saying Rock Against Racism, you would see them slinking down the dark road towards the meeting hall, see these people outside who were against fascism, and they would turn tail and fuck off and say, I don't want to go through that crowd too much. Not that we were being violent, we were just voicing our opinions by shouting them down pat, As a teenager, I realised back then that it was probably the only power teenagers have, is their voice. A lot of teenagers can't even vote at 15, 14, 16, 17. They can't even vote in certain elections, but they still have a voice and an opinion part to give. And if your objection is that they use the freedom of speech that is their right, and if you're just so old and weak vocally to shout above their voices, then fuck you. If you don't have the power to put forward your opinions through vocalisation, I suppose you think it's best that we just ignore the teenagers. In fact, have the police come in and barricade them off, so that us weak-voiced people, us too old to shout above the throng of the fucking populace, we can pay for a hall which is private for us to meet in, and we can have these secret meetings to organise the society that these young people are going to grow up in, and fuck it for them in our bent fucking way, I don't know what your politics are, Pat. I find a lot of your videos humorous, especially the ones you do about the Muslims and religion and stuff. Yeah, quite humorous, you know what I mean? You're an eloquent speaker. But I'm a basic man. I'm down to basics, and a lot of teenagers, young students, find themselves that the only power they have in the world is to join as a group and shout people down. Now, I don't see it as a problem. I know they will grow up, I know they will mature, I know they will find out that we can't get enough 30-year-olds together to shout someone down, so I'll have to change my tactics in approaching the world and approaching and contesting the things I see that I don't like. So please, Pat, don't denigrate the young. Don't try and remove from them the vestige that is the idea that, you know, freedom of speech is the actual start of where you will end up in your life. The organisations you join, the organisations you know, grow through, because we all grow through them. And yes, you're right, they will look back and say, oh, we were total dickheads back then to think we could ever change the world by standing in the street and screaming at the top of our voices. But you know, Pat, that's where activism starts, that's where progressivism starts, it's where socialism starts, it's where fucking, you know, republicanism and conservatism, it's where we all start. We all start as teenagers, voicing our opinions at the top of our lungs when we're too young to understand that it doesn't do any good. But it does teach us a lesson. It teaches us that shouting people down doesn't work, and it teaches us to move on, progress, grow, and perhaps do something better with our ideas and our opinions later in life. So Pat, I think this video you've put up is a waste of time. It's irrelevant. It means nothing apart from you voicing your opinion on YouTube, which is all I do, honestly. I voice my opinion, and my opinion is against your opinion. I think these young people should be allowed to shout people down, especially those who are older, mature. They should fucking know better to do things which piss students off. Young people are the future we are supposed to, you know, espouse to, you know. And yet, how do we treat young people? Your video is a perfect example. We look at their opinions as young, boorish, and not to be considered. And yet it's the only power they have at their disposal. They don't have any money. They don't have any lobbyists to protect them and fight for them. They have no politician that seems to consider any of their, you know, opinions and wants, needs. The only thing they do have is their voice, Pat. And I say to them, use it. Scream at the top of your voices wherever you need to in order to be heard. But I do know that eventually they will, as they mature, understand that it was a feeble effort. For all the energy and effort they put into it, it was a feeble effort to have anything changed, anything done. But it's a process we all went through, Pat. It's a process we went through from being a child and being heard, and you know, I don't know if you come from a family that got more than, you know, one kid, but I grew up in a family of, you know, 2 older brothers, 2 younger sisters, and if I wanted to be heard in the room when people were talking, I had to raise my voice. I didn't shout, but I raised my voice above others, you know. And they did so as well when they weren't being heard. We shouted at each other, you know. It's part of the social structure of growing up. I've never seen any family or any community work the way that you see on TV, you know, in the news programmes where they say, oh, now we're going to ask a question of this person and let them speak for 2 minutes. Then we're going to have the counterpoint from this person speak for 2 minutes. It doesn't happen. In fact, it doesn't even happen on TV, because very rarely the right-wing members of our community, when they're on TV, ever let the left wing speak. They will talk over them and talk over them after they've had their free 2 minutes of never being talked over. They talk over every fucker else, you know what I mean? They shout people down. Just watch news programmes and see how fucking eloquent, you know what I mean, and proprietary the right wing fucking, you know, opponents will be quiet and let the left wing speak on TV, Pat. It doesn't happen, mate. And moderators, oh well, fuck them. Half of them are already fucking corrupted, and they'll stop the left wing from talking over the right wing, but they'll let the right wing shout the left wing down on TV. I see it all the fucking time. So please, don't say that only left wing students are the ones who are, you know, the problem in the world, shouting people down. It happens in every fucking walk of life, Pat. And invariably it's the right shouting down the left or shouting down the progressive. Fucking hell, we've now got the Labour Party turning around and saying that We shouldn't have fucking union dues paid in a workplace. They shouldn't be funded. Let's do away with that funding. As if the Labour Party is going to fucking survive that and be able to compete with a right-wing fucking Liberal and Conservative union in the future. It's almost as bad in Britain, you know, taking away funding for the unions, as the Republicans in America deciding that they don't want to have any votes from the Latinos and the blacks. So let's just depend on the white vote, because they're obviously growing in strength. My God, they're popping white people out left, right and centre in America, aren't they? Well, no, they aren't. They're going to be outbred over the next fucking 10, 20 years, and the Republicans will find themselves never being elected into the presidency again for the next 20 years or more, you know. But, you know, that's just the statistical information of the reality of the situation. So, no, young people, let them shout. It's the only voice they've got, is the voice they've got. Let them scream and shout at the top of their voices, and perhaps some of them will move on and grow into mature, you know, educated people who find another way to, you know, push their ideas and their programs forward so that people can hear and understand them. We all start out with nothing more than our voice to voice our opinions, Pat. So stop thinking that we should silence them. Stop denigrating people for voicing their opinions. Especially since, well, what are you doing, Pat? You're here on YouTube voicing your opinion. You think your voice should be silenced, quieted? I'm sure you don't. I don't know if you allow all comments and all video responses, but I'll try and put this up as a video response and see what you say to it. But I do believe young people should be allowed to scream and shout at the top of their voices. It's a learning process. It's part of the process of maturing, Pat. It's something they need to go through. I assume you went through it. I certainly did. And yes, I look back and see it was a feeble thing that I did, shouting at the Nazis. But you know what? The Nazi Party, you know, the National Front, it hasn't really become a huge, gigantic thing in Britain. I don't know if shouting and bawling at them had anything to do with it, but I look back at it and think it was a successful campaign, the Rock Against Racism. But that's just me, Pat. I'm just a lefty student, or I was back then. It's why you fucking var, motherfuckers.